We would normally find plant rooms to be locked, and in this case this is locked and no access is to be provided to any unauthorized personnel. If we do find it to be unlocked, we need to report that back to the organisation. First area we're going to start to focus on is the general tidiness of the plant room, and also is there any leaks that can be identified on the floors. You can see here it's quite clear. And the next area we're going to be focusing on is the lighting, and you can see from this lighting as we walked in, the lighting was already in the on position. So this is to be put onto our report and to identify that the plant rooms aren't being turned off when finished. First of all, we're just going to identify whether there's any control panels around and what control systems are, and you can see this is a Recotherm system, and this provides control for the humidifier system and the heating around the pool itself. You can see here it's clearly being controlled by a Trend system, so it's got a Trend built-in BMS system that controls it. That's the temperature, and then we're going to focus on the temperature of the pools themselves. So we've got two pools. We've got a swimming pool and we've got a spa, which is the jacuzzi. And you can see the jacuzzi is set to running at 36.8 degrees, and our pool is actually running at 30. And if we want to check the set point of these, we can actually do that by looking at, on this case, is a little button on the left hand side which is called the P, which is program, and you can see the set point will start to flash, and that's telling us that the set point on the spa is 37 degrees, and we know that because we've actually just adjusted that recently. And optimally we want to actually reduce that down from 37 to 36, and that's what we've been advised to do from an independent control. We will then identify if there's any faults within the system, and there's clearly no alarms showing on the panel, and all the switches are facing in the same direction. We'd now start to focus more detail on the sand filters and just identifying to see whether we have any leaks. Obviously, again, we can confirm that there's no leaks on this plant room, and the general tidiness of this plant room is very good, and in my opinion I would say that this is a very well maintained plant room. As you can see, there's not boxes or bottles around or chemicals, etc. We'll take focus on these. These are the sand filters. These sand filters provide filtration on the swimming pool themselves, and regarding that, they would be backwashed because obviously we need to keep that sand clean and not sort of make it bake up. Regarding the water, because after a period of time that will start to coke and clog together, so we'd expect these to be backwashed between probably every other day and extending out, and it does depend on how many people we have and the sort of volume of people we get going through the swimming pool. There are differentiation sensors on these that will give us good telltales of when the flow across the sand filters is becoming a lot slower, and that will then identify that then needs to be cleaned. We're now going to start focusing on the boiler plant, and boilers will have two inputs into them. That's going to be your water flow, your flow cold water feed into the boiler, which is the lower pipe, and your top pipe is going to be your gas, and the gas pipe is normally yellow, and by compliance would normally be labelled up as saying gas, and you can see this is our gas feed coming in to the gas boiler, and on the far end of the gas you identify there's a valve. Now that valve is your safety valve. If there's a fire alarm, then boilers will be shut off from the gas for health and safety reasons, and obviously to avoid explosions regarding the gas isolation. These areas don't need to be lagged, and you can see in general areas there's no leaks that can be identified, and when we look behind the boilers we can see the flow and return, the heating flow and return coming out of the boiler, which clearly shows that this hasn't been lagged. This is an opportunity to start to identify with our thermographic camera that there's some lagging that's missing. So there's your flow and return for your boiler, and that's coming out of the boiler, as you can see, straight into the heat exchanger, and that's a heat exchanger. You can see various different types of heat exchangers. This is a typical swimming pool heat exchanger that we're identifying here. And again, this area hasn't been lagged, and you can feel the heat coming off of this. Okay, and then the pipework going off into the plant, swimming pool plant, again needs to be lagged. Pipework in this area obviously is giving off a lot of heat. We can obviously in this area feel that these pipes are all very hot. Never grab a hot pipe, it's very, very dangerous. But feel with your back end of your hand whether there's heat coming off. You can feel the heat on your face actually at this stage, but if you're not sure whether there's heat coming off, just use the back of your hand to identify any heat there, and in this case there is, and you can see clearly that this is new pipe work that needs to be lagged. We then go to our boilers. These boilers are, and they look very modern boilers, digital interfaces, and you can see that is the temperature of these boilers, and they're running, both these boilers were running about 80. These boilers are quite modern boilers. We don't generally find modern boilers, but these are Potterton commercial boilers that have recently been installed. As I say, we don't often have the benefits of seeing modern boilers installed within the hotel area, but in this case we have some very modern boilers that have been installed to provide us with the heating source. And I would say these boilers are very high tech. They've got their own system regarding time clocks. You can see there's a date and time within there, and we can adjust and program some times within there. Now in this case we don't really need to do that because they're running and operating 24 hours 7 days a week, and you can see they've been set to like a hand value, and you can see on the flame indicator that we've got first stage boiler heating on this boiler itself. And as you can see, temperatures fluctuating around about the 80 degrees C mark, as we just mentioned. At the front, if we was to just turn that down, you can see I've actually changed the display from the temperature of the boiler to the set point, and that starts to flash, and that is the set point. You can see the actual temperature there is 81.2, and then when I turn this switch here, it then goes into 80, and if I push the button, that is how we start to adjust the temperature set point on this particular boiler. Okay, and you can see I set that 80, and I've just put it back again just to make sure we maintain the 80 degree. We are looking to provide a benchmark and a brand standard of possibly 72 degrees. So that'd be a significant reduction from the 80 degrees down to 72. But I would suggest we look to doing some sort of trial on that to see if that actually works, and we maintain all the temperatures within the boiler plant room, including the swimming pools. Now we've come to the end of our plant room review. We're just going to do one more sweep just to make sure no leaks, everything's intact, there's no strange noises coming from the plant, and we're just going to make sure that we've captured everything. And our last thing we're going to do then on the exit is turn the light out.